Hello fellow orchid lovers, it's Danielle here with an addition to our Transferring Orchids to Watercolor video series. So as you can see, there are two Vandaceous types there on the counter. I received a lot of requests to add Vandas. So I decided I don't really have a ton of new plants. I did recently get the little seedling, the Mimi Palmer, so I figured I would add her. And then for our problem child, I am going to add the other plant that you see there. So let's just start with our new plant, which is our Vanda Mimi Palmer. So as you can see, she's very small. She's just a seedling. She's just a baby. Basically, there's not really much to show as far as crossing a Vanda over to watercolor. Most Vandas or Vandaceous type orchids traditionally are grown in what they call, I guess, basket culture, where the orchid grows in a basket either with or without media, and they just kind of get dunked in water or sprayed with water either once or several times a day. So the difference with watercolor, which is really basket culture is watercolor, but you know, whatever. Who's counting? Basically with full watercolor, instead of dunking the orchid once or twice a day, you're instead giving them a small supply of water throughout the day. So for instance, the Mimi Palmer. So the Mimi Palmer, I have watered her already. I got her a few days ago, and I just recently decided to put some Vandaceous orchids in this series. So I have already watered her, and as you can see, her root system is still pretty green. And I watered her, I believe it was 2 days ago. I put some water in the glass, just a tiny bit, which she has already completely soaked up. So she does need me to put a little bit more. But again, like with the Phalaenopsis, you start off slow. You start off with just a little bit of water, and you see how the roots do. You see how much water they drink, how thirsty they are. Now clearly her root system is pretty thirsty because again, it was 2 days ago that I gave her a drink and she's already absorbed all of it. So it's time for her to have a little bit more. All right, guys, no fighting while I'm filming, okay? They're brothers, but you wouldn't think they knew it. But anyways, so as you can see, her root system still looks pretty healthy. Nice green roots. Her top growth looks really healthy, no dehydration. So we're just going to keep on going the course with her. And I'll show you how much water I put in the vase in just a moment. But our other candidate is going to be this one. Now, this is a cross. And for the life of me, I look it up all the time. I just can't remember it. So I'm going to try to write it below this so that I can try to remember it. But we're just going to call her Lilac. That's all. I love lilacs. So this orchid I have had approximately, I want to say 2 years, and she has struggled from day one. I got her, she was severely dehydrated. Her roots were in a terrible condition. So let me just take these pieces of micro cloth out so I can acquaint you with her root system or lack thereof. So she didn't have any of these little nubs that you can see. Those are new developments. She had all of these down here. These are not viable roots. They're really terrible. They don't hydrate her whatsoever. And I thought that they were. And so she got even further, dehydrated because I was relying on these roots to hydrate her, and they weren't. So I'm going to clean her up a bit today. You can see she is putting out new roots, so it's good. She's starting to turn a corner, and I am using those pieces of microfiber to try to bring her a little moisture because as you can see, these roots are way up high, and unless I want to drown the plant, they don't really get a good source of moisture. And as you can see from the roots themselves, they've been kind of stalling and starting again. So you can see it grew to about there, it stalled, then it got a growing tip, it grew to about there and stalled, and it's done it again. So, you know, she's really struggling, and So that's the reason why I decided to bring the microfiber in. Now, a word of caution about the microfiber. It is a great tool because it can wick up the water from low down in the cup so that you don't have to put the base of the plant in the water. But two things. Number one is if you wrap it too tightly around the roots, it will have the same effect as drowning it with water. It still needs really good airflow, so make sure that you're still giving really good airflow if you decide to use something like this. Number two is if this dries out, it can actually suck the life out of the roots as well. Because as much as it can wick moisture to the roots, it can wick moisture out of the roots. So if you're going to use a tool like this, just make sure that you're checking that there's still good airflow to the roots and that this isn't drying out for long periods of time, because it could also dry the roots. So just that word of caution. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean up our lilac, and I am going to put some water in the vase for Mimi Palmer, and I will be right back with you. Okay, so here we are back with the two Vandaceous types, the Mimi Palmer. I'm going to show you the level of water that I give to start for the Vandaceous types. So Ivan, shush, bub. Oh, he's not shushing. That's the level of water that I typically give it first. And that's the level I maintain. So throughout the week, I will go in as that water level starts to drop and just give her a little more throughout the week. I rinsed all her roots really thoroughly. A few more of them greened up really nicely. So pretty simple, easy. And that is my Mimi Palmer. Now on our lilac, I did go in and clean out the vase, or glass in this case. I cleaned off the microfiber cloths, and as you can see, I draped them down into the water so they can wick up some water to those roots. But I just placed them over the roots and not completely surrounding, so that therefore they'll have some airflow. I tried to keep this one away from that root so that it won't dry it out as the top of this gets dry. Also, you may have noticed before I cleaned out this glass that there was a fair amount of algae. And some of you have asked me what my opinion is. Honestly, I don't mind some algae. I don't think that it is particularly harmful to the plant as long as it's not actively taking over your plant's environment. My Rhynchocentrum, I do regularly clean their roots because the algae has a tendency to kind of coat their roots, and I feel like that can be a little bit suffocating to the roots, so I do go in and I clean the algae off their roots. So as long as the algae is not taking over the glass, I really kind of don't get worried about it. However, every week I am cleaning the glasses and refreshing the water, so that probably also keeps it under control. So those are the Vandaceous types, and we will continue to follow them together, and I will talk to you next time.